John K, what's up, man? Welcome.
What's going on? Thank you for having me, Sean.
It looks like you got a great. You're in a great little studio there. You were in a cool room a moment ago, and just moved over to a even cooler looking room for drums and live performance. Are you
Yeah, I
recording
wish
right now?
I wish it was mine. Yeah, we're over at Stark Lake Studios in Orlando, and the last 3 days we kind of blocked it out to do the Love and Everything Else album, but kind of a stripped acoustic version. So I couldn't think of a better way to celebrate the album coming out than to get creative with the same guys I made it with and do a whole. It's actually challenged me in different ways to reapproach these songs in a simple voice led version of them. That's just like a little bit different. So we've been locked out the last 3 days. This is day three. And we've been here for 12 hours a day recording.
It looks like a rad studio. When you first jumped on, I was wondering if it was one of those Zoom backgrounds. I don't know if you've seen those. I was like, is that
Yeah,
real? I was like, I'm not seeing a lot of glitching going on. So
right.
you maybe.
Either this or space.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks real cool, man. So looks like you're having fun in there. So how did you? I know you're from Florida, and you're hanging out in Florida right now. What do you remember like maybe some key moments, maybe early on that where you felt like music was your thing, or how'd you get into music?
Um, I, I kind of, I'll always say, like, I didn't mean to be a great singer. It's just something I always loved to do. And some of my earliest memories are just my dad playing I'm Leaving on a Jet Plane on guitar, singing it, and I Can't Make You Love Me by Bonnie Raitt. And
Nice.
there was just something about that, probably because it was my dad, and he was kind of, he's my superhero, especially when
Right.
I'm 4 or 5 years old. Uh, and I just fell in love at a really, really young age with vocalists. When my dad always tells a story when I was preschool, really, really young. He traded in his Corvette for a conversion van. It's a decision that he now regrets, but right at the time. And there was this like little 5-inch TV screen in it. And on the way to preschool every day, I didn't want to watch cartoons. I didn't want to watch Power Rangers. I didn't want to watch. All I wanted to watch was Mariah Carey, Hero live in concert. And I used to watch that like early Mariah Carey video every single day on the way to school. And
Uh-huh.
that's when he knew. He was like, this kid is obsessed with singing. Uh, and I was just always in my room, just singing and finding ways to find a voice recorder to like sing over the top of things. And it was just something I always loved to do. And I didn't realize I was teaching myself how to sing. And that's why I say I kind of figured it out on accident. It was just something I always loved to do.
Yeah. Was it just the singing part, or was it partially Mariah Carey also as a young dude?
Yeah, I mean, I think Mariah, I don't know what my 5-year-old self was thinking, but it was
Oh yeah.
definitely had all the things that I was looking for.
Right. So you just love singing. So you're singing. Do you start singing in school? Do you start singing it like maybe with family or church events? When do you first start actually kind of displaying putting your singing on display?
So not really. I never really sang in high school
Hmm.
outside of my own car, my own room. Um, so I'll really walk you through the real story because I think now it's kind of time to tell it. And something I shied away from for the last couple years, but it feels like it's time to just be completely vulnerable and honest about it. My first
Sure.
live really audition for anything was for American Idol. And I walked in, my grandma forced me to go. I didn't want to be a part of it. I was totally green.
Uh-huh.
And I just sang Change is Gonna Come by Sam Cooke and just went for it. And I kept making rounds. I kept making rounds. I kept making rounds. And all of a sudden I'm standing in front of like Jennifer Lopez and Steven Tyler and I go to
Awesome.
Hollywood and I go through that whole process. And it was like this glimpse of performing at a pretty high level, and next thing I know, I'm in Hollywood with sweeping cameras on cranes, and they're telling me to make eye contact during this note, and we're going over blocking and performing, and it was just like this fast track and to what it really could be. And I fell in love with it, and I ended up getting cut on that season before it went to like the live shows. But that was the glimpse that I needed. That was, and I think of it now like I got the glimpse, and then it was almost taken from me and saying, okay, now you know what it feels like go make it real on your own and go make it true to you. And one of the producers on the show actually took me aside when I got cut. He's like, you have real talent. You need to go underground for 5 to 7 years and write your butt off, write 1,000 songs and reemerge as your own artist, and you'll be just fine. And I really took that to heart, and that is exactly what I did. I moved to Nashville with my dad after we got a studio apartment in Franklin, Tennessee, and started going to different live rooms and listening rooms and trying to figure out what it means to be a songwriter. And then this guy, Rob Zerilli, gives me a phone call and says, hey man, I saw you on the show. I want you to sing at my wedding. I think that you're the best singer I've ever heard in my whole life.
Wow.
And I'm like, that's cool. So that was in Tampa, and I go to this wedding. I sing a James Morrison song for their first dance. There's something about this guy. We stay in touch, and I keep going back to Orlando, and he would call me out, and he's like, your talent is better than the music you're writing right now. Like, you're better than
Mm,
this. You are the best singer I've ever heard, and people need to know it, but you need to write the right songs.
mhm,
And he's got this unrelenting attitude, this just attack mode, like stay in the grind until you find it, write the songs until you get it. And I kind of fell in love with that attitude, and him and I started writing more and more. And it wasn't until I left Nashville, there was also a girl involved. I met a girl at the wedding that I'm now married to, and
wow.
that's the real reason I wanted to keep coming back down to Florida.
Mhm.
And so I ended up moving back to Orlando, and that's when the John K project happened. It was just me and this guy Rob, who challenged every bit of me, who called me out on anything and everything, and always just wanted to make me better. And we started writing, and we started just going to studios, and then the momentum of that carried us into breaking into the LA songwriting scene. And then I spent almost a year, 2 or 3 weeks out of every month going to LA, with 14, 15 songwriting sessions planned in a 2 week span. And we just started writing. And then that was when it went from singer to artist. Because then I really fell in love with the songwriting process and understanding you don't have to just try to make every song a hit. If it's not a great song, write a new one the next day. Go for a brand new blank canvas. And it was power in numbers, and it was this attitude that was just like everybody, whether it be Rob, and I'm going to intro a couple other guys who are literally in the other room working on this in the background, and Dante, and even my wife. Like, everybody was just like, I'm all in on this. And we basically all quit our jobs, holed up together for the last 3 years, and just went full out as a squad, and wrote hundreds of songs, hundreds of songs. And you do that enough, a couple stand out that you really fall in love with. And then the other challenge after that is not stopping until you've got that in the best place that it can be, which is a total other story, because each
Uh-huh.
song, you could tweak it all day, and at some point you just have to say, okay, it's done. It feels like it should feel.
Yeah. Well, that's an awesome story, and isn't that funny how one guy says he likes your voice, come sing at my wedding, and then you meet your wife, just those little butterfly effects in life, and how impactful they can be.
Yeah.
I also think it's kind of funny that the person you met at Idol told you, hey, go underground for 5 to 7 years. Like that's a how old were you about when that happened?
I was in my early 20s, and that was not the thing that I wanted to hear at
Right.
in that moment. I was like, so naive,
Hmm.
s pretty there was some ego inflation from, being
Yeah.
on the show, and
Yeah.
you're kind of in that "I want it now" mode. I'm ready now, and
Right.
it's
Right.
only after all the real work is put in and the foundation has been laid, and we have something that now that we're just so incredibly proud of, that I can look back, on that baby version of myself, the super green version, and I'm still finding out things every single day that make me a better singer, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, "Oh, you can do all those riffs and runs. Great. Don't do that and actually focus on melody and write a great song." And then if you wanna put some flair on something, do it in a way that is powerful and makes sense. So the main things I continue to learn are more restraint and wait for the power moments. Don't go into every song trying to prove that you're a good singer. Approach the song and meet the song where it's at on an emotional level, and just let the song kind of develop and be something that takes somebody somewhere.
Yeah, I the reason I thought that was funny was I talked with some artists yesterday. They're in a group called Prep, and one piece of advice that one of them gave was people tend to overestimate what they can get done in a year and underestimate what they can get done in 5 years. So did that advice help you measure expectations, or did it make you that much more hungry? Like, I got to do this in less than 5 years. What kind of effect did that have on you?
It it allowed it honestly took a little bit of the pressure off, because when you're able to look at that long-term goal and give yourself a little bit of time to develop and not have the pressure of, I got to capitalize on this moment. I got to put out something, let's just rush it. It gave me the depth of scope to say, let's focus on something that's truly timeless. Let's capture a moment that is very real, and let's put together a collection of songs that resonates with us on a deep level. And the only way you find those songs is with time. And there is always going to be this hurry up and wait thing. And I'm truly just starting to understand how, I've heard it told in the industry that every artist is always kind of 2 years ahead of themselves. So, we already have the project after this almost done, and we already know the songs that we're leading to. And it's like, you have to build this narrative. And, this is kind of a snapshot, this project that's going to come out tonight, of songs that we've done over the last 3 years. And the most recent one that's on it was the first successful quarantine song we did in April. So, we're in November now, and the most recent song that people are going to hear was done in April. And from April to now, we've written probably 70 to 100 more songs.
Yeah, you're over the past year, your song "If We Never Met," which currently has just that single has 75 million, streams, and then you have a remix which has millions of streams on top of that, a couple of different versions. So all in all, it's over, you on Spotify right now, you have about 250 million streams, if that, or maybe more than that, probably now. uh, it's interesting that you say hurry up and wait, and also that this required patience for you, but at the same time there seems to be a sense of urgency because you made all these big changes in your life, and you got in there, and like you said, you were writing hundreds of songs. It's an interesting balance between patience and urgency, it seems like, with you. But your congrats on the massive success over the past year. Do you want to tell us a little bit about If We Never Met, and how it's been, seeing it be received so on such a huge scale.
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you. That song, man. I think we think now like the goal is for a song to have no burn, and what that means is you can listen to it, 20, 50, 100 times, and you're not sick of it yet. And that was just like we're sitting here talking. I was talking to one of my favorite songwriters in LA, a songwriter named Steph Jones, and I was telling her the story, and she's like, "Wow, so if you never met, Rob, if you never met Lene, your wife, if you never met, Dante and Ian, like," and we had that anchor, and then we just, the idea just like started fly. It was one of those writes, and I know I've heard so many interviews like, "Oh, we wrote the song in, an hour." And it was one of those writes where I think we just had the concept was so clear from the beginning, and we stumbled into it, and the story was so real and vulnerable, and I was able to just access kind of exactly how it happened, and that's how the song happened. And it was truly just capturing that moment of kind of the backhanded love song, the I can't imagine my life without you. And beyond, obviously it's about my wife, but beyond that, the direct circle outside of that was when I walked into Epic Records for the first time with 6 guys, and they were there to sign, John Kay. But I was like, this is what it is. Like, this is a team effort from the ground up from day one. And I'm going to have the same guys by my side 10 years from now as I do now. And that's just what you can expect. And I think that keeps the quality at a consistent rate. And we always are pushing each other. So if we never met story is very, very real. And I think that's why it resonates with people. And to truly see a record connect and to have people start to reach out organically, because the song did not jump on New Music Friday, didn't get a huge push when we first put it out. And I remember the first couple weeks, we were just like totally deflated. We had just signed a record deal. We're so excited. And you expect all these things to start to like just click, click, click and take off. And everything is all aligned and we're ready to go. And then it was just quiet. And the first month was really, really tough. We're like, what do we do if this flops? Like, if nobody cares about this, like, how do we push forward? The label's not going to care. And we watched it over the next it took like 4 to 6 months to start to see it organically. Playlist just start to move on its own, and people started to reach out and started to say that this feels like my story. This is what I wanted to say to my significant other. And there was connection there, and it was real. And people were singing it to their babies and to everybody that they love. Like, and it was kind of the nod to, you can positively affect people, and your music can be something that people hold on to and that people like cherish. And that's been the coolest part. I remember we did back in January, we did a show at the Mercury Lounge in New York City, and it was sold out. And the moment we played If We Never Met, the entire crowd, I didn't even have to sing a lyric, and the whole song was just like right there for me. And that was the moment where I was like, damn, like we're doing something.
Yeah, yeah,
And
that's an epic payoff. So off the success of that, tomorrow, I guess midnight, 9 p.m.
yep.
um Western Standard Time, Pacific Standard Time,
Mhm.
which is always nice. I always get on Spotify at 9 p.m. sometimes, and
Yep.
I'm
Check
like,
that.
I get the track a little early. But you're dropping Love and Everything Else. Tell
Yep.
us about that. I think you've told us a little bit about it. That these are the songs you've been writing for the past few years. But tell us a little bit about Love and Everything Else.
Love and Everything Else, man. I love every song on it. And that is such a cool thing to say. I never put together a project like this, and I look at each one and it has such a specific story of the people I was with, how we made it, the kind of state of mind that we were in, and how we were able to push it to the finish line. And you know, the, I almost wanted to hold it so that each one could be a single, because at on some level, like each one feels like a single to me.
Mm.
But at the same time, like I want to put out a project that people can start to see what the John K project is about. You know, it's more than just a 4-song EP. It's we got to let people in, and we have to be vulnerable on every level of this career, or else there shouldn't be any gap between me and the audience. And I'm trying to do that the best that I can. And I feel like these songs are such a good John K starter kit. Like jump in with us. Like hear where it touches on really where we're headed. And I set up the track list to be basically a live show. So when I think about a live show, and I spent a lot of time with the guys rearranging the order, and we really wanted it to be impactful and to have kind of like up and down, and just the right feel from one song to the next. Um, it's organic pop. It's soulful. It is it's challenged me in so many ways, and I've made so many amazing relationships with writers and with producers and my own team. Just all of us leveling up and putting everything into this. I'm truly, truly proud of it. And, just like everything else, we feel like it's just the beginning.
Awesome. Well, that's for my time, that's 12 and a half hours now, because it's the 12th right now, for whenever this may air. But yeah, so we'll definitely be checking that out. Stoked to listen to it after hearing all that. And it's funny, we were just talking about, hey, if you had never met this guy at your wedding, and you would have never met your wife, and then you went into telling me that that's exactly, the kind of one of the inspirations for that huge song. So
I'm gonna
it definitely is apparent in your career so far. Hey, John, it's been a real pleasure talking to you. I wish we could talk longer, but we do like to end the interview just by asking, if you had one piece of advice for aspiring artists, what would it be?
um don't try to make every song a hit. When I first got into this, I spent 6 months on trying to change one song and make it what I hoped it would be. Uh, just wake up the next morning and write a new song. Keep moving forward. Trust your talent. Work hard. Be nice to people. It's more important to be a great individual than a great artist.
That's great. That's great advice. Yeah, I was talking about this with another artist recently, but Ed Sheeran had this, and I know Ed Sheeran. He may be one of your inspirations. I don't know, but he definitely, he's got a great voice, and I feel like there's some of that in there. But he had a quote where songwriting's like a almost like
A
it's
tap.
like a tap. You know the quote I'm going
Tap.
for. There you go.
It
It's like the
starts
dirty
out
tap.
loud. It's true. It's
Yeah.
true. It's true. You have to keep it on. And I would say, keep writing. Like don't take a month off. Like you have to make 2 to 3 sessions or 4 sessions a week, whatever that is for you. You have to keep the tap on, because you open it up and it's a little bit cloudy, but the more you just stay with it, and you get those clear concepts and those really well written songs if you just keep doing it.
Right. Yeah. And for those who haven't heard it, you got a dirty tap, so dirty water's coming out, but you just let it flow long enough, and then eventually it'll run clear. And those are the good songs. So you got to get through that the bad water to get to the good water.
It's could not be more accurate.
And that definitely seems like it's part of your philosophy, writing hundreds of songs, and
Yeah.
and just but I think the part that some people miss, and it seems like I'm actually interested in hearing your take on this, is you just said you're working and working and working on the song, and then finally you kind of learn that sometimes you just have to put it aside. Do you make it a point to finish those songs to make or do you, because I feel like some artists get in the trap of scrapping songs, either scrapping songs too early, and then so they know how to start, but they don't know how to finish, or also maybe like you just said, working too long on one song rather than maybe jumping into a new idea. So how do you find that balance?
Yeah, it's a thin line. It's hard. You have to really trust your gut and have enough awareness to say there is something special about this, and being able to, we listen to a lot of music. We always are diving into everything that's coming out, and it gives you a little bit of perspective on what why does this work? What is special about this, and where does it maybe lose me a little bit? And so sometimes I have to take a month away from a song and kind of put it in a folder, not listen to it for a while, and then reopen it, and you get that kind of fresh perspective and say, okay, this needs this, this, and this, and I think it could be really effective. And then you go in and you just try to find those little pockets of inspiration and those little pockets of creativity where you're just very clear on something, if just for a day, and you're able to kind of get it to the end. But I try to work most ideas at least to a strong demo place, to where I don't think it's smart to give up on things before they have a chance. But once you get into some clarity of what it is, and what makes it work or doesn't work, then you decide how much energy you want to put into it after that.